Proper prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. So I help people prepare properly prior to their arrival.
Hi, I'm Kai Gabiamaziz, and thanks so much for clicking on today's video. I hope you are well. If you're new here, I interview business owners and also those that have moved from the US, Europe to Africa that share their experiences with us. And joining us today from Ghana is Marvin. Marvin moved from the US about 5 years ago to Ghana. I've interviewed him about 2 years ago, and he's back to share his experiences living and doing business in Ghana. And if this is your type of content, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell so you can be notified when I upload a new video. Bienvenue sur ma chaîne, je suis Kai Gabiamaziz et j'espère que vous allez super bien. Moi, je vais très bien. Je fais des entretiens avec des entrepreneurs sur cette plateforme et ceux qui ont quitté aussi l'Europe ou les États-Unis pour aller s'installer en Afrique. Et aujourd'hui, notre invité s'appelle Marvin Walker. C'est un entrepreneur afro-américain d'origine guyanaise qui vit actuellement au Ghana. Il a passé 5 ans au Ghana. On a déjà fait un entretien ici, mais il est de retour encore pour partager ses expériences en tant qu'entrepreneur avec nous. Il est dans l'immobilier aussi et il va partager plusieurs projets avec nous et donner aussi quelques conseils à ceux qui veulent un jour visiter le Ghana, soit pour acheter une maison par exemple, ou simplement les choses qu'ils doivent savoir pour bien s'intégrer en fait. Si ce contenu est pour vous, n'oubliez pas de vous abonner. Without further ado, let me bring our very special guest, Marvin, on. Hi, Marvin.
Hi, how are you doing, dear?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining the show. I know you've been here 2 years ago, and that interview was so good. People learned so much. I've learned a lot as well from your journey from the US to Ghana. And what is it like doing business in Ghana and also living in Ghana? It's been 2 years plus now, actually. So I'm sure you have a lot to share with us today. But for those that are seeing you for the very first time, I'd love for you to introduce yourself properly and share a little bit about your background.
Okay, wonderful. So for those that don't know me, my name is Marvin Walker. I am a Guyanese American. I was born in Guyana, Georgetown, and migrated to America at 5 years old and grew up most of my life in the United States. While in the US, I've had several different occupations. I've joined the United States Marine Corps, which is one of the things that I'm most proud of. Only served 4 years, but got the discipline that I needed to live a very fruitful and successful life. It's one of the things I'm now most proud of that I've accomplished in the United States. I've also worked in the music industry, worked as a songwriter, producer, had my own production company where we wrote songs for several major label artists, worked with several top Grammy award-winning producers and songwriters to do songs for a lot of major label artists. So, all of these experiences form my background. I also worked in medical logistics where for a number of years we transported blood and platelets for the American Red Cross throughout the United States to several different cities and done very well with that. And those are some of the things that, I've been doing in Ghana, the medical logistics through my daycare, health and transport platform. And, that business, though it's needed in the continent, it's been slow to take off, but we're still doing it, rebranding. We learn how to adapt to this market and pivot so that we fit in the market the way the market would respond to us. So we're still very much engaged in healthcare across the continent. But, that's a little bit about my background. And, like you said, I've been living in Ghana now for 5 years. Had some challenges in business in America, right? And it just didn't work out. And a friend of mine who was my operations manager, a gentleman by the name of Barry, started saying, hey, you need to go to Ghana. You need to visit Africa. And, that's how I got here. Never planned on it. But because I didn't have any other option at the time, because the business that I had, was, it was decimated. That's a good word. It was laid flat by one of the organizations that I was working with there. And, I had to come here. But in hindsight, at the time, I was devastated behind that. But it was one of the best things that happened, because had it not happened, I wouldn't have came to Africa. So I think that God allows things to happen. So it forces us to move, because we wouldn't move. We get so comfortable and we wouldn't move, how he would want us to move unless, we're going through some type of hardship. But that's what brought me here. Yeah, and I've been here ever since. So for those of you, this is your first time seeing me either here or, anywhere else. That's a little bit about Marvin Walker's background.
Awesome, Marvin. Thanks for sharing that with us. How is Ghana treating you?
Ghana is a unique place. First of all, I love it. I love the weather. I love the food. I love the people. I love the life that you could live here. There's tons of amazing people, but like everywhere we go, you have, your bad apples. It's funny, when I first came here, I remember one of the first questions I used to always be asked is, do you think Africans hate African Americans? And I used to be like, no, I don't have no reason to think that. You would hear that. And I didn't believe that at first. And I still don't believe it a whole 100%. But when you live here, is different from visiting. And, you find that there's a small percentage of people that resent us for the fact that, they believe that we have a whole lot more than we have coming from the West. And that's been, the disappointing part. But, I would say that 87% of my experience in Ghana has been positive. I love it. But there are some minor negative experiences. And unfortunately, when you talk about that, sometimes some Ghanaians get upset because they feel like you're only projecting the bad, which is not what we're saying. They don't hear the good things you're saying. They just hear the negative. But living in Ghana has been amazing. I love being in Africa, being part of the majority. But like I said, 87% of my experience has been positive. And then the rest, I've had some negative experiences, but, the negative experiences are not enough to make me leave like, most people do.
I love that mindset, because like everywhere on this planet, we're going to find some great people, and then there will be also few bad ones. So I like that your mind is very focused on why you are in Ghana. I'm glad, you have some great people as well around you, and things are working perfectly well, and you are navigating through life, regardless of few challenges that may come your way here and there. You still, focus on the main vision, which is, knowing about the culture, pouring into the community. But we're going to touch more on that a little bit later. Today, You're back to share about Shark Island. Some people will be like, oh, Shark Island, what is that? I would love for you, first of all, to tell us what Shark Island is, where is it located, and also when people visit, what should they expect?
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. So, when I came to Africa, I didn't really expect to find an island property here. Prior to me coming to the continent, I was looking for islands in, various different countries, Aruba, the Bahamas, primarily in the Caribbean, right? Because I was, I grew up in the Caribbean and South America. And so when I came to Africa, Ghana, I started looking for properties during COVID-19 because, I said, hey, I learned once I got here that there are islands in Ghana, and that, there's great beachfront and riverfront property. So originally my plan was to have an island that, I lived on for myself, whether an acre to 3 acres, build a home, have an organic farm and things of that nature, and just live for myself. But those plans kind of changed once I got here on ground. And once I went through some of the challenges, I realized that I could use the property once I acquired it to be a benefit to other people. And when I say be a benefit, I mean in terms of, once I secured the land, got it registered and titled in my name, I realized I could save people from going through the hassle of potentially buying fraudulent land from the wrong people and getting scammed. I realized that instead of keeping an island to myself, I can make it available. So I decided to sell homes, develop and sell homes on the island for people coming from the diaspora. But I wanted to make sure that the island was, somewhere that it was self-contained, but also it could generate a lot of rental income for our owners that would purchase a home, but wasn't quite ready yet to move to the continent. They were planning their transition. So they were being proactive in setting themselves up so that they could live in Africa sustainably. And what that means is that they would buy a home, we would rent it out on their behalf via Airbnb model, and then the rental income would go to them and we would just get a management fee. And then I decided to call the island Shark Island because I really enjoy riding this thing that's called the Sea Breacher. It's an underwater submersible, and most of them you could get them designed and branded to look like sharks. And then the name was just a good conversation piece. Shark Island, is there sharks in the water there? Will a shark bite me? But there are no sharks in the water, but we called it Shark Island because of the Sea Breacher activity that we were having. And it was important to do that because we're right on the Volta River and at the estuary where the Atlantic River and the Volta River meets. And with the Sea Breachers, it's an underwater submersible that you could dive under the water and come up, and they're very strong and fast. So we wanted to do tours where we took people into the estuary, into the Atlantic Ocean. We go diving, we take, tours in our 10 Sea Breachers, and people could have that unique experience, right? So when they come to Shark Island, what people could expect is to connect with their inner child and their inner adventurer, right? Because all of the activities that we have as amenities for the guests who will rent our owners' properties, we have an overwater obstacle course where you could run on, slip and slide, dive in the river if you want to. We have the Sea Breachers. And then we just licensed the rights to the jet cars exclusively for West Africa. The jet cars are the new latest craze. You could drive on the water. And we have 8 jet cars currently, right? We have the McLaren, we have the Rolls Royce, we have the Lamborghini. So people could literally buy a jet car so that they could drive to and from the shopping centers that is in our coastal community, right? And just enjoy all of these activities. And one of the things that I wanted to do was, put a event stage so that we can have various different types of concerts. We want to have artists from the Francophone countries come and perform, right? So that they bring their audience to Ghana and, we connect through food, culture, music, right? Yeah. Then we're going to bring some Caribbean music, some calypso, some soca concerts.
Oh, yes, please.
So that what I found is that a lot of Guyanese people are seeing me, right? And they're like so excited to find out that Guyanese people come from Ghana and other parts of the continent. And I'm like a window into that experience for them. So I've sold several homes to other Guyanese that have seen my story being told. So I got to bring some Mashamani, some Carabana here and show Ghana what we and our ancestors have been doing once we left the continent. So from movie nights under the stars on the island to the Sea Breachers, the jet cars, the overwater obstacle course. I mean, we have so many amazing water sports activities that this community creates the interest for people to say, hey, I want to go and stay at Shark Island and experience it. So, it was very critical that we picked the right location. So we're located in Big Ada, which is an hour and a half from Accra, headed towards the Volta region. So when people come to Ada, hour and a half from Accra, it's not far at all. And then we are adjacent to my most favorite resort in the Ada area, which is this place called Aqua Safari. I'm there every day. It has the most amazing, beautiful scenery. They have peacocks. They have horses and donkeys and ducks and turtles. I mean, it's like the most amazing experience to connect to nature in this riverfront community. But it was also important to be there because Aqua Safari and another amazing place called Treasure Island, they have established the market. So we didn't have to come and try to figure out, where to price things and how to get the market, this area, popping, because it was already popping. And then we just price our, accommodations and our activities accordingly in this market that was already set. So being in between two of the biggest resorts here in Ada makes it a prime location for us to provide not only amazing accommodations, but amazing activities that are different from those two amazing places that I mentioned, but where we stand alone on our own, where people say, hey, I want to go visit Shark Island now. I've been to Aqua Safari. I've been to Treasure Island. Now let me go visit the new kids on the block. And that's what we're most excited about, is that we picked a great location. Our rental rates are anywhere from $700 a night to $1,300. And yes, you heard that a night. The Ghana CD equivalent. So for instance, what I mean by that, Aqua Safari has a beautiful beachfront unit that they rent for 14,000 CDs, which when converted to USD, it roughly comes to about $1,300. But the views, the amenities in the place are amazing, and that's what we wanted to be able to complement and match so that people would come here and pay that same amount. And the reason is because, again, when our people come from the US, the UK, Canada, wherever they bought a house from, we want their property to generate enough money that they don't have to come here and work and scramble like I did once things didn't work out. So our thing was to set people up properly prior to their arrival, right? And the great thing about that is we've been able to look at the market and we priced our units, right, to where they could see handsome returns, but we did it based on what these two amazing facilities that I mentioned, Treasure Island and Aqua Safari, were doing. And then we looked at their occupancy rate and we said, hey, based on what these amazing facilities are already doing, at a 60% occupancy rate, this is the type of rental yields you could see by owning a place at Shark Island and allowing us to rent it out on your behalf. So it's a hands-off, investment where we take care of everything for you. But when they come, they also get to stay at their place. That business model has, helped us to sell more units than I could even imagine, because this was a pivot for me to become a real estate developer, but it's worked out really well.
I love the structure because most of the time people want to relocate to Africa. And sometimes, if they don't do their homework properly, then they go there with 2,000, 5,000, and then that money can just also just vanish like this. What I like about Shark Island, your structure, is the fact that you can actually secure the property. And once you are out here thinking about, okay, I might move down there in 2 years' time or 5 years' time, that property is actually generating some cash flow.
Yes.
So when you decide to relocate there, you don't have to think about, I'm going to run out of cash or this or that. That has already been taken care of by Shark Island. And I love the fact that you have as well, like the management part of things. When you invest in, Shark Island by buying a house, you don't have to be thinking about, the cleaner, won't do the job properly, or this person is not going to handle this the way it's supposed to be handled. But all these things will be taken care of by your management team, which is brilliant.
Yeah. And the goal was to make sure that, again, I ran out of money when I got here. And I don't think you could plan enough. If you've never lived on the continent, right? You're moving to a whole new market. You could plan as much as you want, but there's a saying, right? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, right? So yes, you must plan, but also when things don't work out as planned, you have a solid, structure. And that's what I wanted to do, was create a structure that people could use, because it's what I would have did in hindsight after going through what I did. And the reason being, you mentioned a great point. When you're planning to move to Africa, you already have something in place that's generating cash flow. But what you left out was that's also appreciating in value, right? Because the price of real estate last year and what it is this year, not the same, it's increased. And real estate is always appreciating. People get a solid investment that is appreciating, but also generating cash flow for them prior to their arrival, right? And I wanted to make sure we had that in place because that's what I needed. When things got tough for me and I had to survive on $100 a month or 560 Ghana CDs at the time, you know, I was struggling. But, you know, because I lived in Guyana, I was familiar with living in a third world country, you know, blackouts, doomsday as they call it here. You know, it wasn't as hard for me to adapt, right? And I was okay with living way below my means until I figured out how to do it. And once I did that, I wanted to share that with other people so that they don't come and go through the challenges that we did. I mean, you said 2,000, 5,000. Listen, I know people that came here with 50,000, 100,000, $2 million and ran out of money and had to leave and go back to from whence they came, the US, the UK, or whatever. So you could come with a little money and make it. You could come with a lot of money and not make it. So, but if you do it right the first time, then you can be okay. And that's why I love the Marine Corps. They taught me proper prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. So I help people prepare properly prior to their arrival. And that's what our business model is.
And that is so needed because people want really to have the experience some of you that are already on the continent are having. But if you don't know trustworthy people on the ground, you're going to be disappointed because certain things can be handled well if the professionals are the one taking care of things for you instead of dealing with people that you just met on the road.
Or even your family member, right?
Like or even your family member, exactly. And that is not only even for people, you know, that are coming from the US or the UK that may have bad experience on the continent. It can happen to me, though, you know, I would say I'm 100% or 1,000%, you know, Togolese. So some of us, we are blessed coming from, you know, good family where people really, really care about each other. But that is not the experience for everybody. That is even more reason why I will even encourage anyone in the diaspora that does not have no connection whatsoever on the continent to really connect with the right people that also moved from here, that have done it. You know, it's just like they have the structure already in place. So they'll just hold your hands and say, do it like this, do it like that, just to avoid the headache.
Yeah.
That's what I will definitely encourage more people to do.
Yeah.
So in terms of the properties, how many bedrooms are available there? What is the condition for any investor or someone that maybe want just to buy the property and just live there? I just want you to take them through the process.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the property, we have beachfront units that are 2 and 3 bedrooms. And our 3-bedroom unit is 1,815 square feet of indoor living space. Right? But because the weather is so great in Africa, we wanted to make sure we had outdoor living space as well. So we have 1,803 square feet of outdoor living space on the rooftop deck. And then in the front and the back of the house, you have your personal pool and you have beachfront access, which roughly brings the 3-bedroom to a little bit under 4,000 square feet of living space. And then we have our 2-bedroom beachfront unit, which is 1,550 square feet of indoor space and 1,546 feet of outdoor living space. And then those units have their pool in the front and the lawn area, as well as the beachfront. Now, our 3-bedroom sells for $299, and our 2-bedroom unit sells for $254,000 right now. And then behind the beachfront, in the back of the community, we have our condo units. So we have 6 buildings that have 6 apartments in them, 2 on the ground floor, 2 on the first floor, and then 2 on the second floor. And then it has a rooftop deck and bar with pool for the owners that they could utilize when they're visiting their unit. And the price points on those units start from $134,000 for the ground floor units, and then $154,000 for the first floor units, and then $179,000 for the top floor unit. And those units are 1,550 square feet, same as our 2-bedroom units, but they do not have the outdoor space to make it close to 3,000 square feet of outdoor total living space like our 2-bedroom beachfront. So those units are a reduced price because it's only 1,550 square feet, though they have access to all of the amenities that are on the property, like the medical center, the supermarket, the Wi-Fi cafe, as well as the pool and the movie theater under the stars that they could look at. So those are our units. And then we have 3 payment plans that our owners have been using. Of course, we love those individuals who are able to pay up front. And when they do so, we give a discount for those individuals who could pay in full. And we don't expect a lot of that because only about 3% of our buyers have been able to do so. But some do it not because they don't have the money, but also because they're like, hey, I'm sending money to Africa and I don't know if you're really going to build. So our next payment plan is where people will pay 25% in 4 installments, where we'll build for the first 25% to the foundation, complete that up to the oversight concrete. Then once we show that, hey, we built your foundation, we use your money, we were good stewards, they release the second tranche, and then we build from the foundation up to the lintel level, and then they keep paying those 25% installments until the unit is complete. And then our third payment plan is our in-house financing, where our owners put down 30%, and then we build to completion for them, and then they pay $2,000 a month until their unit is paid off. So that's what we've been doing to make it easy and accessible for people looking to transition from the diaspora into the continent. So that's how anyone who's interested in our units could participate. Now, I must say, we sold out 70% of phase 1, and we don't have any more beachfront units left because we sold out 3 of the condo buildings, and we're currently selling out the 4th. We've sold 2 of the 6 units in building number 4, right? So we have those 12 units in building number 5 and 6, and then we have 4 other units that we have offers in right now, but we haven't finalized. So we're not going to say they're sold until we get the security deposit.